Welcome back to AI Short Stories Movie Recap. Today, I'll tell you about a Korean action movie titled The Gangster, The Cop, The Devil. Now, sit back and enjoy the recap. At the beginning of the movie, a black car is being followed by a white vehicle. When they reach a dark area, the white car intentionally rear-ends the black one. Both drivers step out, and the man from the black car takes photos of the incident for insurance. However, the driver of the white sedan, whose identity is still unknown, suddenly stabs him multiple times. He then puts the injured man in the back seat and finishes him off. Meanwhile, two police officers are stuck in traffic. One of them is Tae-sok. They listen to the news about a recent murder. Bored, Tae-sok gets out of the car and goes to an illegal gambling den. A gangster tries to stop him by stuffing money into his pockets as a bribe. But this only angers him. He beats them up and arrests a man working behind the counter for illegal money exchange. Meanwhile, Mafia Boss Ma Dong-seok is seen training with a punching bag. His right-hand man, Oh Seong, approaches and informs him about the incident at his gambling den. Dong-seok then orders his men to open the punching bag, revealing a half-conscious police officer inside. Dong-seok leaves the building and gets into his car. He calls the police director to complain about an officer raiding his business. In reality, he has bribed the police chief to leave his operations alone. Tae-sok heads to a crime scene, leaving the man he arrested earlier handcuffed to a motorcycle. At the scene, Tae-sok examines the victim and finds a clue at the back of the car. He suspects that the crash was intentional and that a serial killer is behind it. Meanwhile, Dong-seok meets with another gang leader, Sang-do, to discuss respecting each other's territories and responsibilities in their businesses. However, they fail to reach an agreement, and their subordinates also start arguing. Annoyed, Dong-seok suddenly punches his own man and knocks out 2 teeth from Sang-do's subordinate. He warns them not to speak when the bosses are talking. Sang-do, shaken by what he just witnessed, has no choice but to agree with Dong-seok. At the police station, a group of officers discusses the murdered victim's background. They are confused because the victim had no debts or known enemies. Tae-sok suggests that a serial killer is responsible, as 2 other murders involved the same knife length as the murder weapon. However, his colleagues disagree, and the police director scolds him for raiding Dong-seok's gambling den without jurisdiction. Dong-seok decides to go out for some fresh air and orders Oh Seong to send his men home. While driving aimlessly, another car suddenly rear-ends him. The driver of the white sedan steps out. It could be the mysterious serial killer. Since it's a minor incident, Dong-seok decides to let it go and starts walking away. However, the killer doesn't back down and stabs him twice. But Dong-seok is not an easy target. He fights back, manages to grab the knife, and stabs the killer in return. The wounded killer rushes back to his car and runs over Dong-seok before escaping. Dong-seok, now barely clinging to life, is rushed to the hospital, while his men, thinking a rival gang was behind the attack, launch an assault in retaliation. At the same time, the serial killer calmly cleans his knife and treats his wounds. Shortly after, he enters a nearby facility in search of his next victim. He spots an elderly man and mercilessly stabs him to death. Dong-seok wakes up in the hospital and speaks with his right-hand man, Oh Seong. He has no idea who attacked him, but he orders his men to track down the white sedan. Not long after, Tae-sok visits Dong-seok to get a statement, but Dong-seok refuses to cooperate. Tae-sok then inspects Dong-seok's car and connects the attack to the earlier murder case. Both incidents involved a white sedan ramming into its target, meaning the same person could be responsible. Tae-sok speaks with the police director, urging him to stop protecting Dong-seok. He insists that Dong-seok needs to be interrogated, as he is the only victim who survived and likely saw the suspect's face. He is convinced that a serial killer is behind these attacks. After all, no ordinary criminal would dare target a mafia leader. However, the director ignores his plea. Meanwhile, the killer stops at a gas station to buy coffee from a vending machine. He notices a man talking on the phone and suddenly stabs him to death. At the same time, Dong-soo works with a sketch artist to create a drawing of his attacker. Once it's finished, he hands it to Oh-seong and orders him to find the suspect before the police do. Later, as the killer drives a stolen truck, a man suddenly appears in the back. Amused, the killer sees it as another opportunity and kills him. However, in the process, he accidentally drops his knife on the side of the road. Tae-seok visits Dong-soo again, trying to force him to talk so they can catch the killer. However, Dong-soo remains indifferent. Meanwhile, Oh-seong informs Dong-soo that his business is collapsing. Rival gangs are taking advantage of his weakened status since people now see him as vulnerable after being hospitalized. Realizing he needs to kill the murderer to restore his reputation and regain respect, Dong-soo makes his next move. His men locate the white sedan and the knife used in the killings. With this breakthrough, Dong-soo invites Tae-seok to collaborate. They strike a deal. If Tae-seok finds the killer first, he will bring him to justice. But if Dong-soo finds him first, he will personally deliver his punishment. They exchange the information they have, and Dong-soo reveals that their conversation is being recorded. He keeps this as collateral in case the cop betrays him. With their uneasy alliance in place, the gangster and the cop begin their hunt for the devil. They determine that the killer is around 30 years old and only strikes at night. Tae-seok enlists the help of 2 more officers and informs them about his alliance with the gangster to capture the killer. Meanwhile, Dong-soo lays out his own plan to Oh-seong. Once they catch the killer, they will eliminate the police officers involved. To complicate the case, Dong-soo orders Oh-seong to kill Sang-do using the serial killer's knife. Not only that, he instructs him to leave the weapon at the crime scene, ensuring that the police will find it. When the forensic team examines the knife, they discover traces linking it to the previous murders. With this new evidence, Tae-seok believes he has solved the case. He realizes that Dong-soo orchestrated Sang-do's murder in a way that would make it look like the work of the serial killer. Furious, Tae-seok confronts Dong-soo, leading to a heated argument, but there's little he can do. A new police team is assembled to aid in the investigation, and Sang-do's murder is broadcast on national television. Watching the news in a restaurant, the real serial killer smirks and remarks that he wasn't the one who killed Sang-do. At Sang-do's funeral, the serial killer boldly sits among the gangsters, glaring at Dong-soo. He then approaches Sang-do's right-hand man and hands him a letter that reads, "Sang-do was killed with my knife, but I wasn't the one who did it." Afterward, he points directly at Dong-soo. That night, Tae-seok and Dong-soo inspect the white sedan and discover a bloodstain under the steering wheel, which could help identify the killer. However, before they can analyze it further, they are suddenly ambushed by a group of men, Sang-do's loyal gangsters seeking revenge. A brutal fight breaks out, but Tae-seok and Dong-soo manage to defeat them. Later, Tae-seok and his team receive a lead on the serial killer's hideout. They track him down, leading to a high-speed chase through the streets. Despite their efforts, the killer manages to escape once again. Meanwhile, Dong-soo begins forming new business partnerships to rebuild his empire. At the police station, a woman hands Tae-seok a file and asks him to investigate a missing person from years ago. The fingerprints in the file match the ones found on the white sedan's steering wheel. Following this lead, Tae-seok visits the suspect's last known address. Inside, he finds photos and clues that confirm the man in the pictures is the same person in Dong-soo's sketch. There is no doubt they have found their serial killer. Tae-seok shares this discovery with his team and Dong-soo, distributing the killer's photo to all gangsters in the city. They launch a massive search, but despite their efforts, they come up empty-handed. Exhausted from the hunt, they decide to take a break. While waiting for Tae-seok, Dong-soo encounters a young female student and kindly gives her his umbrella to keep her from getting wet in the rain. The girl thanks him before boarding a bus. Later, as they eat at a restaurant, a breaking news report plays on the TV. Another murder. Dong-soo's heart drops when he sees his own umbrella at the crime scene. The young student he helped was killed by the serial killer. It turns out the killer has been watching Dong-soo for a while and murdered the girl as a chilling warning. Dong-soo was furious and ordered all gangsters to continue searching for the killer. This time, they got lucky. They spotted the killer while he was scouting for his next victim. A high-speed chase broke out between the killer and Dong-soo's group. Dong-soo managed to ram the killer's car, but the killer escaped into a dark alley. The gang split up to track him down. During the pursuit, the killer ambushed and killed Oh Seong, but Dong-soo soon found him and unleashed a brutal beating. Dragging the killer to an abandoned warehouse, Dong-soo tortured him, preparing to stab his shoulder. But before he could strike, Tae-sok suddenly arrived and rammed Dong-soo with his car. Tae-sok officially arrested the killer and brought him to the police station. However, they lacked solid evidence for a death sentence, and the killer denied everything, making it difficult to convict him. Desperate, Tae-sok visited Dong-soo, urging him to testify in court as a witness. Dong-soo agreed, but only on one condition. He wanted to be imprisoned in the same prison as the serial killer. In court, Dong-soo revealed everything, proving the killer's connection to the murders. He also testified that the killer stabbed him during their fight. To confirm his claim, he demonstrated the exact location where he was stabbed. The police removed the killer's shirt, exposing the wound on his left chest, matching Dong-soo's statement. With undeniable proof, the killer was found guilty and sentenced to death. However, Dong-soo was also arrested for his crimes. In the final scene, Dong-soo was imprisoned but got what he wanted. He shared a cell with the serial killer. With a menacing grin, he promised that this time the killer wouldn't survive until morning. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.